On a winter evening, with the cold wind howling outside, Eleanor and Michael stood inside her grand mansion, gazing through the large window at the silent snowfall. The mansion, nestled in the heart of Manhattan, was renowned for its luxurious exterior and elegantly furnished interior. To some, it was a dream home, but to Eleanor, it felt like a vast, empty prison. The grand living room boasted extravagant chandeliers, designer furniture, and sophisticated artworks. Yet she was its only resident. Her wealth was among the greatest in the country. She had accumulated her fortune through real estate investments, growing it further through stocks and business ventures, building a lifetime of success. People regarded Eleanor as the epitome of achievement. However, despite her success and immense wealth, she was always engulfed by loneliness. She was in a position others envied, but she knew very well that it did not bring her true happiness. The reason for her deep solitude was singular. Her daughter, Madeline. Madeline had gone missing 30 years ago, when she was just 7 years old, at an amusement park. The memory of that day still haunted Eleanor, robbing her of sleep. It had been one of the rare occasions when she had decided to take a break from her busy business schedule to spend time with her daughter. She had taken Madeline to the most famous amusement park in New York. That day, Madeline had the brightest smile in the world, riding the attractions and eating cotton candy. But that happiness was short-lived. In just a brief moment of distraction, Madeline vanished without a trace. Eleanor immediately reported it to the police, and the entire amusement park was searched, but to no avail. There were no witnesses, no CCTV footage, and all of Eleanor's desperate efforts to find Madeline were in vain. As time passed, Eleanor's despair only deepened. At first, she did everything within her power to find her daughter. She hired detectives, sought police assistance, and even got the media involved. But as the years went by, the world seemed to whisper cruelly for her to give up. For years after Madeline's disappearance, Eleanor would break into tears at just the mention of her daughter's name. But no matter how much she cried, all that came back was silence. Eventually, those around her told her she had to move on, but she could never fully let go. As 30 years passed, the memories of Madeline grew faint, but the pain never healed. After losing her daughter, Eleanor had cut herself off from all human relationships, burying herself in work. Her days had been filled with chasing success, but in the process, her own life had grown emptier and emptier. Now, with her business stable and thriving, there was nothing else she needed. She had all the money and fame one could ask for, yet the emptiness inside her only grew with each passing day. Lately, Madeline had begun appearing more frequently in her dreams. In those dreams, Madeline always reached out her hand toward her, but Eleanor would wake up before she could grasp it, and upon waking, an overwhelming sadness and guilt would consume her. I should have protected Madeline better. Why not look away for just that moment? She sighed deeply, blaming herself. That evening, Eleanor had planned to prepare a meal for herself, but lacking the energy, she simply grabbed a cup of instant noodles. She knew she was isolating herself with this repetitive routine, yet the solitude felt oddly comforting. But at that moment the phone rang. "Eleanor, if you keep staying home like this, you're going to get sick," said her friend, Olivia. "I know a little restaurant, cozy and welcoming, with great food and wonderful people. Come with me tonight." At first, Eleanor refused, but Olivia's persistent persuasion eventually wore her down, and she agreed. A few hours later, Olivia picked her up, and they arrived at a quiet alleyway, slightly removed from the bustling streets of Manhattan. The exterior of the restaurant was simple, but the warm light spilling from its windows radiated an inviting atmosphere. As soon as they stepped inside, Eleanor was greeted by the comforting aroma of homemade food, accompanied by soft background music. The walls were lined with handwritten notes and photographs left by customers. On each table sat a modest yet thoughtful flower arrangement. It was nothing like the high-end restaurants Eleanor usually frequented, but the place exuded a warmth she couldn't quite explain. "This is the place I told you about," Olivia said with a bright smile, leading Eleanor to a table. Eleanor felt slightly out of place, but followed Olivia's lead, moved by her friend's enthusiasm. A waiter approached with water and a menu, and after placing their order, Eleanor quietly observed her surroundings. The restaurant was pleasantly lively but not overcrowded, with guests chatting warmly, creating an inviting ambience. Her gaze wandered to a waitress who was moving efficiently between tables, engaging kindly with customers. The name on her tag read Sophia. She was a young woman, greeting customers with an effortless smile as she served meals and exchanged words with them. Sophia's attentiveness to each guest, her natural charm, and the way she took care of people left an impression on Eleanor. Before she realized it, Eleanor found herself watching Sophia closely. There was something oddly familiar about her. But when Eleanor's eyes drifted to the necklace hanging around Sophia's neck, her heart suddenly pounded. It was identical to the one she had given Madeline 30 years ago, a small, delicate pendant, shimmering silver, engraved on the back with the name Madeline. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat as she stared, her mind racing. That's impossible, she told herself. Yet, no matter how much she tried to deny it, the necklace was unmistakably the one she had custom-made for her lost daughter. Her hands trembled as she took a sip of cold water, trying to steady herself. How could this necklace be here? There was supposed to be only one in the world. Eleanor kept staring at Sophia, lost in thought, her heart hammering, but she couldn't bring herself to approach the young woman. What if she was mistaken? What if it was just a coincidence? If she confronted Sophia and was wrong, her last shred of hope would be crushed. Their meals arrived, but Eleanor couldn't focus on eating. Olivia, unaware of her friend's turmoil, chatted about how delicious the food was, but Eleanor barely heard her. Her mind was consumed by a single thought: Sophia and that necklace. Could Madeline be alive? No, it's impossible. Life isn't that kind, she tried to convince herself, but deep inside, a fragile hope began to take root. Eventually, she couldn't hold back any longer and turned to Olivia. That waitress, Sophia. Do you know how she ended up working here? Does she have a story? Olivia looked surprised at the sudden question, but then smiled. Oh, Sophia? The owner recommended her. She's kind and hardworking. The customers love her. Eleanor listened, her thoughts racing. She needed to know more, but she wasn't ready to face the truth just yet. Even after their meal ended, she couldn't stop thinking about the necklace. Olivia, wait here a moment, she said, standing up and walking slowly toward Sophia. Her heart pounded violently, her breath shaky. She locked eyes on the necklace. As she carefully spoke, "Excuse me, may I ask where you got that necklace?" Sophia blinked in surprise and instinctively touched the pendant. "Oh, this," she said with a slight smile. "It's very special to me." She gently ran her fingers over it. "I've had it for as long as I can remember. My mother gave it to me.